I probably don't need to tell you this, but you really got to know the Pythagorean Theorem. It's one of the most important formulas on the test. It shows up a whole bunch, and it doesn't just show up as the Pythagorean Theorem. You may be surprised to know this, but check out the videos on this stuff and the material. But the distance formula is actually the Pythagorean Theorem. Not only that, but that circle formula that everybody hates, x minus h, quantity squared, plus y minus k, quantity squared equals radius squared. Guess what? That's the Pythagorean Theorem too. Pythagorean Theorem is only right triangles. That's one of the things I see messed up. And it just tells us the length of a side, if we don't know it, in terms of the relationship between the two legs. That was not a very good marker. The two legs, which are the non-hypotenuse side, leg and leg, and the hypotenuse side, right? And it's a squared plus b squared equals c squared. And let's use my friend, the 3, 4, 5. If you make a lot of math YouTube videos, you start to think of special right triangles as your friends, I guess. So now look what's going on here. A couple things. So first off, I'm going to square this and I'm going to square that. So that's multiplication, but it's not multiplication together. And then I'm just adding these two. So actually the order doesn't really matter. So I could say this is 3 squared plus 4 squared equals c squared. I'm saying we don't know what 5 is. Or I can say it's 4 squared plus 3 squared equals c squared. Doesn't matter. It'll be the same. So I square everything out. I get 9 plus 16 is equal to 25. C squared, or our hypotenuse squared, is 25. Square root of that, our hypotenuse is 5. Now, you could also say the hypotenuse is negative 5, except that we never think of distances as negative. Distances are always positive. That kind of comes into play a little bit more when you deal with the unit circle stuff in trig. Check that out if you want. I'm going to go ahead and flip over into a full screen algebra, ACT problem, and we'll deal with something that's a little bit more representative of what you'll see on test day. This is a word problem example. You'll see a fair number of these. In this case, they're actually giving you the diagram. Sometimes they will, sometimes they won't. First job for me is to mark up the diagram, just like any geometry problem. I want to pull all the stuff from the question onto the diagram so I don't use the question anymore. Wires attached to the pole 10 feet from the ground. Wires attached from the pole 10 feet from the ground. That's this vertical length. And the phrasing can be a little confusing on these. And when it is, they typically do give you the diagram. They're not always. So I'm going to go ahead and put my dimension in here of 10. Wire is 14 feet long. Well, that's the wire. That's our hypotenuse. What is the length of x? So everything's already pretty much marked up there. So I know this is a right triangle because it's perpendicular to the ground. That's a common phrasing for buildings, trees, walls, other real world examples that they like to use. Plug everything in. So a squared plus b squared is equal to c squared. And I have c squared, so that's 14 squared. And I could say, well, this is a or b squared. So let's say it's 10 squared plus b squared. I don't know, I just want to solve for b. Square everything, that's 100. That's still b squared. And then this is 196. Subtract. B squared is equal to 96. And then square root that. B is equal to the square root of 96, which you can do in your calculator, but it'll just be a little bit less than 10. Right? Square root of 100 is 10, so just a little bit under 10, or 9.8. Not that much to it. But it's a tool you have to be super comfortable with, kind of like factoring quadratics. Shows up all over the place. I mean, all over the place. Again, like I said, the first half, the distance formula and the circle formula are really just the Pythagorean theorem. All right, make sure you learn some of these special right triangles, particularly the side-based ones, because they're super helpful on test day. And take a look at that stuff.